and enforcement of Ohio's sunshine laws, which means all of what's going on throughout this process has to be open and transparent. So if there's emails going back between the Secretary of State and the elections people, or any of their minions throughout that system, those have to be open and accessible to the people. I'm going to make sure that's the case. Now, I can assure you that we're not working as hard as we're working just to have this election stolen from us. And so in addition to that, right now we've already started a observer project, which will allow us to have observers statewide stationed in the various Board of Elections so that we can make sure that this is a fair, open, honest election. As I say, we're not working this hard just to have it stolen from us. We're going to make sure this is a fair election, and we're not just going to take somebody's word for it. We're going to do the due diligence to make sure it's actually happening.
You've spoken a lot about open records, public meetings. Tell me how you would handle that in your office, and a media request coming in for, say, 6 months worth of your emails. How would you handle that request if you're elected as Attorney General?
I'd tell my staff to process it immediately and put a priority on it. The failure for the Attorney General to make sure that there is open, accessible records is one of the main reasons that has led us down to all these scandals. If these politicians don't believe that people are watching, they will lie, cheat, and steal. Even if they're watching, they're going to see what they can get away with. So it is critical. And on that process, even throughout this campaign, as we've gotten inside information about improper things in office, we've actually done our own records request. We had an Assistant Attorney General write back to us to say that any record that could potentially be deemed adversarial in the future is hereby privileged and we're not going to turn it over. Well, I mean, that is just an unbelievable statement for a government employee to make. And, as you may recall, Mark Dan got into office largely on the back of his championing open records requests, sending public documents requests to Taft's office and demanding emails that he wasn't getting. And then he turns around in office and does virtually the same thing by refusing to turn over his emails. And again, that comes down to the fact that these representatives of the political parties will only do things when it's convenient for them to do those things. That's not going to happen in our administration. We don't have those ties to special interests. So when we discover, for example, this instance where an assistant attorney general is refusing to turn over records, we went ahead and filed a legal action in the Supreme Court of Ohio to force those records to be turned over. And that's the same energy and vigor that we're going to bring to this office to make sure that public records are just that. Public records.
Where does that stand right now, that filing?
It's currently filed, and we're waiting a response from the Attorney General's office.
Okay. How tough is it to be an independent candidate in a two-party type system?
Yeah. Well, it's brutal. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we have to work very hard. In fact, we've got to work much harder than our opponents to build our organization, to get our message out. I think this is a very unique election in that both major parties have been involved in significant scandals in this particular office. Obviously, the Republicans with the Coingate, the Democrats with the Mark Dan debacle, and as a result of that, I think we have a much higher floor to work off of than would be the case for most other independent candidacies running a statewide race. I think in addition to that, the fact that it is a three-way race brings that floor down of what it's going to take to win. So we're, raising the margin we're starting with, we're lowering the margin that we need for victory, and we need to bridge that gap. And in order to do that, we are working our butts off. And I can tell you, I got home last night from a candidates forum shoot, I can't even remember now. But I mean, we didn't get home till, like 1:30 in the morning, and then here I'm back in the office at, about 10 till 7, getting work done. I